And now to our first conversation, we see Nigeria's business landscape is as challenging as it is full of promise, from fast-growing digital ventures to untapped opportunities in manufacturing, agriculture, and creative industries. The country offers a unique environment where resilience, innovation, and strategic risk-taking are key to success. For entrepreneurs, spotting the right opportunity and executing effectively can mean building not just a thriving business, but an enduring legacy. Today I'll be speaking with a businessman with his hands in beauty, media, fashion, food, hospitality, sports industry. And I'm talking about Mr. Ahmed Lawal, is a managing director of Lamad Concepts, and we're going to be discussing entrepreneurship in Nigeria. We see the data there showing. Great to have you this
Very
morning.
Nice
Good morning.
to be here, Ladi.
Yeah, so, you know, we've been called a hustler economy. You know, at this point, everybody's doing something.
Yeah.
You know, selling something, you know, at this point and trying to, you know, make ends meet. But there's also that notion that most of the time you expect some of these, you know, entrepreneurs to break out from, you know, being small, being medium, you know, break out from all of that. But before we get into that, I want to talk about your journey. You have hands in beauty, pharmacy, and I'm wondering, how do you juggle all of that? Talk to me about your first venture.
So I've been in business for a very long time. I started in 1999, selling books. And from then on, we just had to go from one thing to the other, doing whatever it is that was going to bring in legitimate money. And so, but I've been fortunate from an early age to be able to have insight into how things are done in the corporate world. I had a stint at then Nitel during my IT days. I also worked on the Corporate Affairs Commission EDMS project. So we handled indexing of files from the physical, you know, paper era to the digital era. So we did that conversion. And so it showed me how, you know, companies are registered, how the directors are, that's intricate workings, you know, in the background that people don't just see. So today you see First Bank, but who are the owners of First Bank? Who are the people who run it? How is it run? You know, and I've always been very, very curious. So I read novels a lot growing up, and also, you know, what do they call it? The annual reports of businesses. It always intrigued me. So I got, you know, that insight into how things are done in the background, as opposed to what most people see, which is just the surface of it. So, you know, from then on, we started to have an eye for opportunity, and then we just continued to.
So, you know, spotting opportunities, that's, you know, one thing.
Yeah, it's key. It's very, very key.
How does it, you know, work for you? You know, because you've touched on, you know, beauty and products.
Yeah, so, you know.
I'm wondering how that industry is actually doing right now.
Yeah, it's one of the fastest growing industries, the beauty industry. Every corner you turn now, there's a salon around, you know. And in the past, you know, it used to be an issue of barbers and stylists opening small stores and then, you know, doing their thing. But now, people who, like I, for instance, I'm not a barber, not a stylist. I'm just a businessman. I don't know how to cut hair. People ask me that all the time, that, are you I don't even know how to hold a clipper. But I'm a business person, and I cited an opportunity there that we could harness. And so we came in. And so now a lot of people who are not, you know, traditional vocationalness, they have come in, and now they're doing business. So
technically, you don't have to have that skill
to be able to invest in it.
In the business you're going into.
Yes, you know, and that's what entrepreneurship is all about, solving problems and making profits from it. So you talked about opportunities, citing opportunities, and I think that that's one of the things that we are missing the most. As I believe wholesome completely in entrepreneurship being the only solution that can move Nigeria from where we are now to where most Nigerians want us to be. Government's function in it is very, very minimal, which is like just providing legislation and policies that will help entrepreneurs to thrive,
And that enabling environment.
That enabling environment.
It seems like a lot, though, sometimes.
It is quite a lot. And it is because that is, I'll not say completely missing, but I think there's a lacuna. There are a lot of government policies that are unknown to the people, and which, if known, would have encouraged a lot more people to do business. If known, would have encouraged a lot of existing businesses to grow. There are a lot of grants that government, in partnership with foreign bodies, have in place that a lot of people are not even aware of. You know, there are a lot of policies like tax-free. If you are doing so thing for so number of years, you are going to be tax-free. A lot of people talk about Dangote, monopoly, this government favors him. But he just finds out what the policy is, keys into it. You know, there are some sectors that government wants to develop. And because they want to develop those sectors, they give incentives. You, as an entrepreneur, you have to go in, find out what are those incentives that I can use to make my business larger. So, you know, like, personally, I've trained my mind to always see problems as an avenue for growth. So anytime I have a problem, you know, I have a very, very common saying that I say all the time, that whenever I have a problem, I will throw business at it. That's, if you ask me, the best way to sight opportunities.
Okay, so as an entrepreneur, is it a risk, you know, when you have your hands in, you know, different industries, you know, at the same time? Does that reduce what you would have gained if you focus on just one thing?
Okay, so I think what works for Peter might not work for Ibrahim. Some people, so you have to know yourself and what it is you are capable of. But ultimately, if you are going to do more than one thing, you have to be very, very keen on building structures. So for instance, now HairSense, as an organization, has multiple branches. As at this morning, we have 13 branches and 4 in development. We have multiple staff across these branches, and these branches are spread across Southwest and Abuja. But if I'm not around for a year, business is still going to run because there are structures in place. There's a clear reporting procedure. There's a clear standard operating procedure. So everybody knows what to do when. Everybody knows what he is in charge of and who the next person is that they need to report to if they need whatever.
So you don't have to be involved in the day-to-day?
I'm not even involved in the day-to-day. So it gives me a lot of time to be able to do a lot of other things. And so I just felt like, okay, so 2023, I partied a lot. Not wild parties, but I was always in almost every other Owambe. Because I love Owambe. I'm not going to lie. So, but I just realized that I'm doing this
because... It was also a networking opportunity.
Yes. In fact, 2023, hands down, was the year that I networked the most. But again, you know, you get to a point where you find out that, look, as far as networks are concerned, I'm good. Because I may not know everybody, but I know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that can get what it is that I want at whatever point in time. So you slow down on the networking and then you build more, which is what we are into now. Currently, you know, we're in 7 industries, as you have mentioned: media, sports, hospitality, real estate, and all of that. Because I realized that all I need to do is the groundwork, put in the structures, and then allow it to run. So, but, you know, like I said earlier, a lot of people have this notion that business is supposed to be a one-man thing. So you are the one calling the shots, you have to be the one to, even though, you know, I personally...
Because I think there's also that fear, you know, for most entrepreneurs, that will that person carry my vision the way I want it carried?
Well, so you see, as much as, you know, I don't engage in the day-to-day of our businesses, I still drive policy, I still drive strategy, I still drive growth. So I personally scout every single branch that we are going to open in. I personally scout, you know, carry out the feasibility study, I study the markets, I do all of that. I personally fit out every store. You understand? Because I have experiences from pastors of the things that we didn't get right operationally. Some things might look very aesthetically pleasing, but be an operational disaster. So I make sure that I fit out every store. But, so we recently opened at Ikeja City Mall at Alausa. And I was there every day for like a month when we were fitting out. And then, people around got used to seeing me. But the day we opened, the next day I was off. And, so now sometimes I'm not there for a month. And people are like, what happened? I say, I told you people, this is when I work. And that's what I enjoy doing the most, building new things. It might be a new branch, it might be a new business, but you are building. And so, we need to understand as entrepreneurs that Nigeria as a country needs us to be more of creators than consumers. We need to create things that are bigger than us. For instance, the entire GDP of Nigeria in 2024 was about 187.8 billion. Facebook's revenue in that same 2024 was 167 or thereabouts billion. Apple was 390 billion. So Apple's revenue is over 2 times the GDP of Nigeria.
And it's fun when they pay taxes, because the taxes are huge.
You get? So they could do it. And, given that the world is now a global village, Facebook could have come out of that. Okay, I'm saying hypothetically that if Facebook was started in Nigeria, barring all the challenges, unfriendly government policy, lack of startup funding, right. If Facebook has started in Nigeria and runs from Nigeria, it will still run the same way that it is running. Location is no longer a barrier for businesses to run and thrive, which means that somebody can come up now, create a rival to Facebook, and have that same. Imagine that somebody is able to create something that rivals Facebook. Maybe not in the social media space, maybe in the agri-tech space, maybe in the health tech space, maybe that can create that kind of revenue. That you have created something that everybody in the world needs, everybody in the world is using, and you are making that much money from it, and that money is domiciled in Nigeria. Everybody in Nigeria will benefit from it, because you alone are doing more than every other person as a nation is doing. So we need to stop thinking about what government can give to us. I know it sounds cliche, but that is the solution. Government cannot today, on their own, create a $1 trillion economy out of crude oil or customs or tax. It is people that will create things that will generate that revenue. We have Africa as a block. You don't need to target the US as your customers, even though we do a lot of trade, because now there are a lot of Nigerians in diaspora. But you can target Africa as your market. And that's over 1 billion people, if I'm not mistaken. Now, are we up to 1 billion in Africa? About 800 and something.
We're getting there.
So now you have that market. That's your market size. What do Africans need that I can provide? I understand the culture. I understand the people. The terrain is similar. What do Africans need that I can provide and get money from them with? If you're able to do that, maybe you don't do 167, maybe you don't do 300 and something billion, but you do 10 billion, you do $20 billion, you do $30 billion. If we have 20, 30 of that in Nigeria, the economy will grow.
And talking about growing and raises and raising capital, I did talk about Africa startup funding for the first half. It's a record funding. See most of these startups raising huge capital in Africa, and most of the time you see that this capital is coming from outside our continent, and at some point there will be an exit.
That money, we started to see
that money will move out
exactly
of Africa. But we're celebrating attracting, these, startups, raising these funds. Are we really making it when you really look at it?
So if you look, so for me, I think it was yesterday that I saw in the news that which corporation was it?
The Chowdeck.
Chowdeck
the
raised
raise.
$9 million.
Right.
And everybody was happy, but I was sad. The first thought that came to my mind was, God save Chowdeck. Because so far, they are doing very well. And if you look at the statistics or the trend, the more the funding that businesses get, save for a few, like Flutterwave, like Paystack, save for a few, the more the funding, the earlier the collapse. If you check the trend, there have been a lot of funding of startups that have received funds, and in a year, in 2 years, they're bankrupt, they're shutting down, they're laying off staff. So that tells you that the problems that we have go beyond funding. People talk about, so I'll tell you hands down as an entrepreneur that the number one problem that I face is access to human resources, people to employ. But if you ask the average Nigerian on the street, they'll tell you Nigeria has an unemployment problem. We do not have an unemployment problem. I know every single business owner that I know on a daily basis are looking for people to employ. And they can't find. The second problem that we have is internal thefts. Every single business person that you ask will tell you that at some point or the other, millions have been stolen from their business, and they were able to do almost nothing about it. I have a friend who has about 14 branches, and in all of the 14 branches, they were stealing from him. They were selling goods, and they were deleting it from the database, and he was looking at it that, they don't steal 10%. They'll steal 70% and leave you with 30%. Some will steal 80% and leave you with 20%. So these are the problems that we face as a people. These are the things that we need to solve. We have to achieve a mindset shift. And that's why every day I'm questioning, where is national orientation agency? What are people doing? So we have that mindset as a people that we have to make it no matter how.
Maybe because of high poverty, 150 million, multidimensionally poor?
I think it's high greed. I think it's high greed because I've been poor. I've been poor, and let me tell you a secret. I got married when I was 24. Straight out, I think I was still in school. I was rounding up my final year, I got married. And when I got married, I was working for a newly formed company called Asabikun Investments Limited. And my salary was 5,500. That was when I got married in 2016. And so I can't say that I had money, but I didn't take a dime from that company. And then after I left Asabikun, I started my own company, Worcester Educational Resources Limited. And so we talk about funding. I'm trying to come there and then circle back to the question. I brought 25 people together, and they were contributing 5,000 naira monthly to set up a school. So we set up a limited liability company first. So it's a proper fund. It's a properly self-funded, or should I say crowd-funded startup, which is the mood that I think that we should adopt as a nation, as against going abroad to bring in funding. We all saw what happened to Jumia. It's basically now not Nigerian-owned. The funds are just being taken out of the economy. We need funds that will stay in the economy. So 30 people, 50 people, 100 people can come together and contribute 10,000 naira monthly. 10,000 naira monthly, 100 people. That's something. 1,000 people can come together. You just need a framework, which is where government comes in. So if somebody, takes this money and up and leaves, what happens? What's the security? What's the guarantee that our funds are going to be safe? So a framework has to be created for these things to thrive. And I think this is where government is missing it. what Nigerians need from government is very minimal. We don't want government to come and build houses for... Nigerians are not demanding that. Nigerians just want you to give them that little push. You know, so as against our normal upbringing and mindset that you have to own everything and have 100% ownership, we have to start to see that, for instance, now what we talked about Facebook, if you know the percentage ownership of Mark Zuckerberg in Facebook, you will be surprised. And he's still one of the wealthiest people in the world with that minute ownership, less than 10%. So it's better.
And we know people are mostly, some founders are afraid of letting out shares of their business.
Because there's no framework to punish erring partners. And there's no, forgive me for saying that, people don't have confidence in the judicial system. So if I do business with you and you cheat me or you defraud the business, I take you to court. We can be there for 10 years and you're dragging it out and somebody is giving something to somebody and at the end of the day, everything is lost. But if there was a judicial system that people are confident in, or don't even go all out and say, okay, the judiciary should handle it. Create a special business arbitration judicial committee, whatever it is, so that it's easier for you to hear cases that have to do with SMEs and large corporations, and people don't have to... Confidence will be bolstered. People will engage in partnerships more because...
And investors love justice.
Exactly.
Where they can get justice easily and fast.
We're not going to be able to do it.
All right. So, definitely a lot to unpack, today.
Yeah.
And definitely when it comes to entrepreneurship, the conversation keeps, going at this point. But thank you so much for helping us unpack this. Mr. Ahmed Lawal is the MD of Lamad Concepts. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
It's great having you. Thank you.